Let's get it rolling. I'm Eric Spielvogel. I'm the Director of Education here at the American Philatelic Society, and I'd like to welcome you to our monthly webinar series, Stamp Chat. This is our 12th and final episode of the 2023 season, and tonight's talk is, that's right, you made it. So it's special, and tonight's talk is titled Launching StampEd, which is a big deal. It's a new project here, big, shiny, exciting. And I've been told by the legal team that I'm not allowed to say anything else, so I will get in trouble, ruin the launch, and also the Stamp Chat. And Susanna will never talk to me again, and I don't want that. So our presenter this evening is our very own Susanna Mills, the APS Editor-in-Chief. Anyone who's been a part of the APS for any amount of time knows her and knows her work. If there's a printed item that you receive in the mail, she has had a hand in fashioning it. I'm going to let her introduce herself mostly, but truly, if you've read anything in print, Susanna's had a hand in it. She's the queen of the written word here. She's also pretty good in front of the camera. You may have seen her on our YouTube channel. She does sneak peeks every month to go with the stamp to do with the AP. Sorry about that. And so you get a little bit of a behind the scenes look from her. She's great that way. She's also a great APS tour guide, museum docent, and event planner. So that's a lot of skill sets. She's a little bit of very quick house cleaning here. For those of you watching the presentation live, your microphone and cameras are disabled during the presentation, so we have bandwidth for everything else. To engage fellow attendees, please make comments in the chat section. And if you have questions, please use the question panel, and we'll get to those questions at the end of the presentation. Tonight's presentations are going to be a little less formal than we normally have, a 40-minute presentation and then 20 minutes. I think this will be more of a conversation. If you're watching this later as a recording, please feel free to ask questions in the comment section in the YouTube channel. This program is provided thanks to generous support of APS members. If you're not already a member of the APS, consider joining us. If you'd like more information about our services, please visit our website at stamps.org. Susanna, thank you so much for joining us, giving us your time and your energy, your enthusiasm, and sharing this news with us tonight. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Eric. Welcome, everyone. As Eric said, my name is Susanna Mills. I've been the editor-in-chief here at the APS since January 2022. That's quite exciting in terms of the AP. I'm reaching some pretty major anniversaries. That's, I think, my 25th editor-in-chief issue will be the January issue. But I'm not here to talk to you about the AP. I'm here to talk to you about a new, entirely different passion project. I'm going to assume that all of you definitely attended the APS board meeting that was held in October. All of you, yes, probably not at all. So this may be the first time that you are hearing about StampEd at all. I'm going to pull up, just very briefly, a PowerPoint presentation. I'll get rid of it as soon as I can, but I want to let you see the official word on what StampEd is, when we're launching it, and a little bit about the project. So bear with me. I'm going to share. All right. How's that look? All right, we have here StampEd, which is a magazine, a digital magazine for the next generation of stamp collectors. This is our brand new initiative, and it is going to launch in February 2024. As you see here, this is a sample cover, not the actual first cover. Sorry, I can't reveal that yet. So what is StampEd? I already said that it is a digital magazine. It is going to come out quarterly. What makes it different from the other things that we're doing here at the APS is that it is directed towards an entirely different audience. I've said the words new generation of stamp collectors. That, as I'll get into, can mean younger in years. But really what I think it means is digitally connected, community oriented, curious, engaged, um, and excited by stamp collecting in non-traditional ways. So this quarterly magazine is going to engage with that audience, um, and it's also going to simultaneously speak to beginner level collectors. So there'll be a combination of information that's shared in StampEd. Some of it's this education for entry-level collectors, and some of it is, topics of human interest that could get anyone excited about stamp collecting, no matter where they are in their collecting journeys. So that's our mission. As I mentioned, we are targeting a different audience than the typical APS member. So as you can see, we have down ages 20 to 50. This is not a magazine for children. It's not directed towards towards age 1 through 18, although we definitely think that it will be approachable and accessible for kids as well. Anyone should be able to read it, no matter what their age. We're looking to target a slightly different gender dynamic than you typically see in the American Philatelic Society. I think a lot of people know that the usual APS member is on the older side, and a lot of APS members are men. So this is just going to flip the target audience for that. I've used the word digital generation. That both refers to people who are really active online, who maybe seek out their Philatel community online rather than in the physical world. And I also consider these people to be very active, engaged, and connected. And I accidentally skipped forward, forgive me. Finally, as I mentioned before, our target audience, some of them are entry-level collectors. We find that a lot of the stuff that the APS does at the moment is targeted towards people who are intermediate collectors or even expert collectors. So one of our goals is to talk to people who are at the beginning of their collecting journeys. And then we're also trying to represent non-traditional collectors. This could be stamp artists. This could be, topical collectors, FDC collectors. It could also be people who are really interested in mail or stamps, but don't necessarily want to acquire a ton of stamps themselves and just put them in albums like we would consider traditional collectors to do. So that's the target audience. As you can see, it's a bit different than what we currently do at the APS, which is what's so exciting. I want to share a little bit about what readers can expect to find in StampEd. We have 3 major sections. This is the breakdown of how we're going to focus each issue. So one section is Design Ed, and that focuses on the art world. That could be interviews with stamp designers. That could be talking about different art periods that are represented within stamps. Those kind of aspects will be focused on in the Design Ed section. In Connect Ed, we're going to make that human connection. Those stories that you tell someone who's not a collector yet, that you use to entice them into becoming a collector. that's this. They're the stories that tug at your heartstrings, that uh, that are kind of wow factor. And that's what we're going to focus in on in this human interest section, telling stories, connecting to other hobbies, connecting to genealogy, and kind of bringing it all together. Finally, skill ed is the section where we're going to focus in on uh, getting people familiar with stamp collecting, teaching some of the basics, talking about different aspects of organized philately, shows, how to buy and sell stamps, all of those aspects that are kind of second nature to a more experienced collector, but can be rather daunting to someone who's brand new. They don't know all the words, they don't know all the terminology. So on the whole, this magazine is designed to be really accessible to people at all levels of collecting. And it's free. My favorite part. Um, there is there's nothing more accessible than a free magazine. Um, we don't really want to put up any barriers to people being able to access this because we want as many people as possible to see it. Maybe these are people who look at the $45 APS membership fees and say, well, I'm not sure whether that's for me. I'm not sure if it's worth it. I'm just not there yet. They could read this magazine and learn a little bit more, and that's the whole point. So it's free, it's shareable, it's going to be very easy for people to send on to their friends, their family members, clubs. Um, so I just want to jump down through some of the opportunities uh, that this is opening for us. The main thing, because it is free, is it will be a way for us to reach people who we haven't reached before. This target audience of these younger folks who are very online, and deciding to make their collecting community digitally rather than in person at clubs. Those are the people that the APS isn't necessarily reaching. Um, but we know that they're out there. If you spend any amount of time, uh, following the online philatelic world, you can see it's very active, and there are a lot of young people who are extremely excited about stamps, maybe not in the ways that we expect traditionally, um, but are completely valid and really exciting in their own ways. So this is going to help us reach that group. And also, as I said, figure out what they want and how we can, what they want and what they need from collecting, and how we can help provide that as the APS. Other opportunities, this magazine is going to be different from the AP in that the digital version is going to be full of lots of interactivity. We'll be able to connect it with videos, with other content, and we'll also be able to use it as a tool to build community within this target audience. Ideally, a place where these collectors can talk to each other, get excited, and not have to feel judged because they might not know as much as another collector, so they can kind of grow together. And those are the high points. As I said, this is debuting in February 2024, February 1st, in fact. I should mention that we have you can sign up to receive email updates about the new magazine. We'll be doing some sneak peeks beforehand, kind of getting you excited, teasing the articles. And then if you sign up for the newsletter, we'll also let you know when the first issue is available. And if Eric can jump in, I will try to remember the link. Sorry,
Hey,
Eric.
Susanna. No, that's okay. I was ready to jump in. I was right there with you. This is so exciting. I can say that sitting, I I sit in the part of the building at the APS that used to be the editorial. So I'm across the hall. Sometimes some people still wander in here looking for editorial. So I'm in education, and education and content and editorial share a lot of DNA and share a lot of resources. And so this opens up a lot of channels and a lot of opportunities to interact with people. There's a lot of questions coming in, so we'll just get right to it, as they say. Thank you for the setup. That's really great. Can you describe, I'm a boomer. I'm going to just admit it. And people love to say that. My kids love to remind me of this. I'm right at the edge of that. So I know that we're reaching a lot of different audiences with this. Can you talk about what a digital magazine actually is for those of us who really don't have digital magazines? How does that work? Say, I assume that means it works just as well on an iPad, it works just as well on a phone, but there's some other things that it just will open up some opportunities. So can you talk a bit about that?
Yes, so very basically, the digital magazine will be um, it will be responsive. So you'll open up the first issue, and whether you're reading it on your phone or a tablet or on your computer screen, uh, it will size down to the appropriate size. As for the look and the format, it's really just, kind of standard 8.5 by 11 magazine, just like you're used to receiving from the AP. It's just online. Um, However, beyond that, I mentioned that there'll be interactivity available. We can add in surveys. We can add in videos that can be shown along with the magazine. Um, and so it'll be a lot more than just receiving a print copy. You can do a bit more with it.
Great, great, thank you. I'm sure we'll learn more of that as we start to launch it, and as we learn more about it. How does this, for those folks who are really used to and comfortable with the APS publication portfolio, how does this work with it? Or but this is a separate item, obviously. Are we going to bundle things? How do you see that happening? Or is that not really an issue?
So that's not really an issue because it is free. No one will have to sign in to read it. They won't have to be a member. They won't have to join the website. So anyone can be able to access it at any time. In terms of, the rest of the APS publications, this will be coming out in addition to our regular publications that we do. We have our monthly AP, we have the quarterly philatelic literature review. This one is just going to be neatly slid on in between all the rest. So there's nothing changing with the rest of the publications that we do.
Yeah, it's not a zero-sum game where we have to take away something to do this. It's adding to a portfolio, and it's really an exciting addition.
Yeah.
Following up on that, one of the questions that came in is, how do you think, what are the ways you think you're going to pique the interest of non-traditional collectors? How will they tune in? What will we do to get their attention? How do you think, what will we be doing?
So everyone knows that the most successful kind of marketing is word of mouth. So
Right.
we're not just relying on word of mouth. This is going to be a very useful part of us pushing the magazine out. Of course, we'll be using social media. We're going to make new social media presences for the magazine. so it can have its own, so it can build its own community outside of what the APS is doing on Facebook, for example. We are going to be, we're going to be talking it up on various places where this target audience is very active. For example, various forums, Discord. There's a lot of people who are fascinated by like pen pals and snail mail, who would be a perfect audience for this. So we're really going to be able to broaden our our marketing and outreach beyond beyond the APS membership.
Great. And here we just have some echoes going on, so I'm trying to minimize the number of microphones that are on. I see a lot of people in the chat section are already indicating that they've signed up. So you've already got people going. The engine has begun. Okay. This is a question about interactive components, and we mentioned in a couple of different ways how the interactivity will include community connection and talk together components. Will that be a competitor with Discord? Will it enhance? How does it fit into what people already know to be those kind of community? How do we think we can leverage those things or create something that's compatible or?
Thanks for the question. I do think we can. This is something that we're still planning and working out the details of the best way to allow a community to flourish around this. We've looked at Discord. I know a lot of stamp collectors, whether they're in our digital generation or even baby boomers, Eric. A lot of people use Discord. So those are all options that we're looking at. And I'm totally open to suggestions as well as we put our launch together.
Great. We have a bunch of people with suggestions, so we may save those for last, or we may just send those to you as a batch. There's a lot of people really excited about and who work with kids and are really trying to find ways and have spent, many of their own years engaging kids in this. So they're really excited about this. Let's see.
I see a question. Oh, sorry. Sorry, Eric.
That's right.
I'm skimming over your questions. Sorry to interrupt. I know
no, that's
it's not
right.
my
Go
job
ahead.
as the MC. But I see that Brian Jones asked about connecting with your family's roots in any country, being family activities, and not having to use a traditional stamp album. Brian, that is absolutely what we're talking about. I think, for example, and we're all pretty familiar with this, genealogy is a major connection with postal history, and it gets a lot of people. It's one of those connections that people cross over, blur the boundaries, and really fascinates people on a personal level. So that absolutely is going to be part of the program at StampEd. And we also, just to give you a sneak peek, we have an author who is really excited about, she has a family herself, a wide spread of ages that she does stamp collecting and stamp collecting related activities with, both as kind of an educational tool to get them excited about history. So this author is planning to write a few articles for us. So that's a great question. Thank you.
This is a similar question. I like this one, excuse me. Is there an objective or an objective to have some content overlap between the print and digital magazines, kind of the kind of an editorial bridge, I guess, would be a good term. Do you see that being possible, or?
I do. I mean, this is already what I'm trying to do with the American Philatelist and the Philatelic Literature Review, where there are aspects of the same story that should be told in different ways, that you come at it from different angles. And so, but a story that's right for the Philatelic Literature Review is not necessarily the story that will connect with audiences in the American Philatelist. And I think the same way, there are stories that'll come out of the AP or come out of StampEd, maybe interviews that we're doing with, exciting people that we want to use for both. So I can see a lot of crossover there.
Good. Yeah, there's so many opportunities. There's so many opportunities to share resources and share expertise.
Well, and it even goes beyond that. Often with the AP, we realize we haven't gotten the whole story. And so that's someone that we would invite back to teach a course or do a stamp chat like this, or film a video with us in some other way. So that is something we're going to try to do with StampEd a lot of the time.
You just kind of answered the question I was about to ask, but I'm going to ask it again anyway, because you may think about it a little bit differently here. Here's the quote. "This is awesome." This is not the first time I've seen this written tonight. This has been written quite a few times. "What can we do?" We all love when there's someone who wants to do stuff, and there's a lot of those. "What can we do at the local level to support awareness and perhaps even content creation?" And you began to answer that just a minute ago, but I bet you have some other ideas.
Well, okay, there are so many. First of all, at the local level, you should share it with your family, share it with your local clubs. Put a sign out on your street. do whatever you want to do to share it at that point, whatever you're willing to do. And we will be so grateful. In terms of contributing, helping with the magazine itself, the production, this is an exciting time because with the first few issues, we're going to find out what works, what doesn't. I can tell you it's nerve-wracking. It's amazing to be able to start a publication from scratch. When I came in with the AP, everything, the style, the types of articles, it was all laid out for me. Accidentally muted myself. I'm so sorry. The AP, it was all laid out for me, and I had the benefit of many years of wisdom from the people before me to figure out what our audience wants and how to match that. With this new magazine, we're going to be trying new things. We're going to work with columns and columnists who we haven't worked with before, and really try to establish the vibe that's going to reach our target audience. So, all that to say, we can use your feedback as the first issues come out. If you have ideas about articles and you're willing to write them, or if you're not willing to write them, please let me know. I'll just plug quickly my email address for StampEd content is stamped@stamps.org, STAMPED, stamped@stamps.org. And I should also mention that even some of our major sections, like our major columns, we are going to be writing those in-house to begin before we look for a columnist, so we can really drill down on the tone and as the kids say, the vibe of what StampEd is going to look like.
It's really important that you use the word vibe in this
Yeah.
stamp chat. I think that was good that you plugged that in there.
I ruined it by saying as the kids say. So I'm sorry.
Yes. Yeah, well, you were almost there. Here's some extra points for someone who's paying attention to the format and the connected and the uh, skilled. As part of the project, will there be an expo ed for non-traditional virtual exhibitions like this question? Uh-oh.
That's such a nice question. I hadn't considered it. Um, but I'm willing to.
You know, I can answer that a little bit only from because it's interesting. I know there have been a lot of conversations about how to put some energy into virtual exhibitions, and exhibiting as a real educational skill set, almost like for those of you in the education field, a domain general skill set. You know, it's a presenting skill, it's a content creation skill instead of a content regurgitation skill in a test. It's a very different kind of assessment. So there's a lot of I think attention in that, and a lot of teachers would really, really be excited if we could find a way to do that, I think. So speaking from the education. All right. We have a lot of questions. I don't know how long you want to do this, but we're going to keep going for a while here. This is another cool question about how to kind of bridge some gaps. Will there be an effort to introduce those who are unfamiliar with some of the modern apps, Instagram, Discord, etc., as to their use and potential philatelic application? I think I've heard you say that probably a couple different times, but could you address that directly in terms of how we get people familiarize them with new digital tools that might not be familiar?
I like that idea and its approach that I hadn't considered. One thing that we are going to be doing, and I don't think this quite speaks to your question, but we will be highlighting uh, uh, people in the online community who are very active on those modern apps. One of our, here's a little sneak peek as well. We've got a column that will be highlighting a content creator uh, in every issue. So for example, someone who's really active on YouTube or has a really interesting blog or runs an Instagram page. So we'll be highlighting people who are kind of experts in that field. I do think it's a really cool idea to explore um, how other people can use those to uh, enhance their collecting. Thank you for the idea.
Kind of follows that, and we're crossing questions a lot here, but I think if we're duplicating some of this, it just enriches it. Here's the beginning of this question. Love the grassroots concept. That's in all caps, grassroots. Personally, feel it's a great way to increase interest in excuse me. This person feels a great way to establish and increase interest in philately is fellowship, aka stamp clubs for us old folk. At 67, this person is the youngest person in their stamp club, but wanting to figure out how to bring interested people together. It's early in the process, we know, but how might we, or what are your ideas for forming or getting young people interested in socializing in this aspect? I know that's part of connected, so sorry if this is redundant, but this is social aspect is a big aspect of this.
I agree, and I think um, I can read this from different perspectives. Um, in my October issue of the American Philatelist, I did talk a lot um, about clubs and what clubs can do to enter the 21st century. Um, so if we're talking kind of traditional stamp clubs, like, pre-COVID, they met in person. Now post-COVID, they do a lot of Zoom sessions. I think I think there are a lot of different approaches to that. One of the most important and maybe the most overlooked is just making sure that your club's information is up to date. that people can actually reach you. Ideally, that people can reach you by email or through social media. Um, so that's a very simple answer to the traditional side of this. Um, from how, if you're looking at it, how uh, how people who are primarily online can form these social connections. Um,
Well,
well, it's
step in.
tricky. I
It
think
is
that's
tricky.
something we're trying to figure out. Because there there has to be, I don't know, what does there have to be?
It's well, it's I we kind of go back to the last answer, the last question, which was about exhibiting. I do think a big part of this, and you see this in the tools online, you see this in some of the apps. It's about sharing them, and so it's kind of the same way that exhibiting and writing and authoring and doing talks and going to clubs is the way that this has gotten so horsepowered for generations and generations. I do think the enabling tools that allow digital, the tokens and to share these things really readily is a big part of that. How to push it out. That push technology where you do something and it goes out to your whole network. I think that'll have a lot to do with it.
I agree. And I also think that maybe the focus is a lot less on, for example, events like this where we're all met together at one time, but rather, you know, like social media, the entire idea of it is you can log on at any time and join the conversation. It doesn't matter if you're talking to someone who's in a completely different time zone, you're still continuing that. So the emphasis for a younger stamp club might be um, less in-person meetings or less online in-person meetings and just connecting to each other on in a different way.
Great. This is a comment, and maybe you want to respond to this, maybe not, but one of the comments is one way to help bring stamp collecting to a younger generation is through growing homeschooling, and that indeed is the largest and fastest growing component of education in the country. So it brings education on many levels into the home, history, geography, et cetera, et cetera. Do you engage at all with homeschooling audiences? I know I do. I know a lot of our young stamp collecting members are part of homeschooling, and we have a lot of tours in the building with those folks, and they're really always looking for content and cool new things to do with kids.
Yeah, I think I don't have a lot of interactions with homeschooled students, but I do think that what what connects them all is a special excitement, a willingness to learn new things, um, and a an essential curiosity about the world. Um, we see that a lot in the homeschooled students who interact with us at the APS, and I won't speak for you, Eric, but um, and I think so. I think that, again, I said StampEd isn't for kids, but it's not for kids. Just like StampEd isn't, I said StampEd is for the 20 to 50 somethings, but it's not for all of you 50 plus folks. Um, everyone is welcome.
This is, I believe, a simple question, but maybe it's not as simple as I think. Will there be a print version of this available if people want to put this in libraries, share it? Is there any plan to have any kind of print component to it?
Not typically. We will be printing copies, if only for our own library and to, hand out at home. But yeah, the print copies aren't a major factor at the moment. Uh, sorry. It'll
Totally
be
okay.
downloadable. You can print out your own copy and
Right.
again, hang it up on a street sign, share it with people.
Paste them to cafe windows and telephone poles as much as possible. This is a suggestion / question. How about running a one-page issue? I know this will be near and dear to your heart because it's a topic that we've talked about a lot in the building. How about running a one-page issue showing art done with stamps? It wouldn't qualify as collector-oriented philately, but would certainly be interesting and engaging. Do you have an opinion about that, Susanna?
Totally positive. Actually, so I showed you again the sample issue. This isn't the actual cover, but the let's see if I have a do I? I'm checking the mess. So the image on the front cover of the sample issue is a stamp art piece. It's a collage of um, of a whole bunch of thousands of stamps. We did a great article about that in the AP. I say a great article, I wrote it, so I probably shouldn't be commenting. But the AP December 2019 featuring a stamp artist called the Stamp Butcher, Gary Hogbin in London. And you know, the idea of using stamps for artwork, could you believe it, is you know, people have very conflicting opinions over whether we should be doing that. But that's a very exciting way that people are engaging in the hobby. So I love it. I'm a big fan.
I'm told that there's a lot of feedback coming through my microphone, so I'll try to keep this one short. Will people be able to find this on Facebook, find it on Instagram? Do you think they'll be able to locate it? There'll be a lot of people sharing this, a lot of members who are helping promote this based on what I see just here. But how can people find this digitally, do you think?
Well, you'll find it posted on the lamppost in your street. No, we will be creating StampEd social media pages on Facebook, on X, formerly Twitter, on Instagram. So we'll be sharing lots of details there, both leading up to the launch and afterwards, you know, related content that didn't make it into the issue. And then we also, you know, we hope for people to share it widely, you know, talk about it, spread the word of mouth, as I mentioned earlier.
This kind of goes in with this. I've seen a number of people. There are a lot of marketing branches. We have a marketing department. There's a lot of ways that we can push this out and promote it. Is there any consideration for merchandise or connected items, or do we have any kind of Shopify thing going on? Do we see any connection with stuff like that?
That is the plan. I'm sure, um, well, for one thing, one of my favorite pieces of merch uh, that I get connected to, you know, a similar subscription that I'm part of is, you know, a regular pin. So that's something we're looking at. We're looking at other merch as well connected to StampEd. We're looking at custom designs that will be made, you know, so it's not just the logo, things that could be references uh, to different parts of the magazine. So yeah, definitely merch will be on the table.
This is a comment and just me scanning through a lot of commentary. There are a lot of over 50-year-olds very excited about this, just so you know. Another comment, and you may respond to this or may not need to, but the same way that people are seeing homeschooling is a really great venue. Libraries are being mentioned a lot as ways to kind of give a lot of attention to this and put some other people in place to amplify that. Do you have any sense of that?
That's a good point. I did see a comment about libraries, and I I agree that that's something that we could consider. Um, I'm a big fan of libraries and everything that you do. It fits right in with our mission um, of sharing this knowledge for free. So that's definitely something we'll consider. Thank you. Um, I also wanted to, Eric, you mentioned that a lot of people over the age of 50 are excited about this, and I want to make it clear that I said 20 to 50, um, and that's nowhere near as important as the fact that this is for people who are curious, who are engaged, who and who maybe see maybe see collecting differently than traditional collectors, maybe are kind of forging their own paths, love stamp art, um, um, or maybe came through stamps through a completely different hobby. That's also really exciting, and definitely something that we want to celebrate. So the age setup that is part of this is by no means the most important part.
Thank you for that. It's a we're uh, okay, so this question's come up a few times in a few different ways. How is this free? This sounds like a lot of work. There's a lot of content. There's a lot of connection building, a lot of energy behind this. Are there going to be ads, or can people donate? Will there be some kind of system? How is this free?
Yeah, all of the above. I'm glad you brought this up because because the fact that it's free is very important to us. Um, and that was something that we decided almost immediately when we were putting this idea together. Um, so yes, there'll be advertisements. We're working with our advertising crew, Fox, the same people that we work with for the AP and the PLR and everything else that we do at the APS. So if you are a dealer or auction house out there who's watching, um, please consider advertising with us. We are also supporting this through very generous donations. Um, so we've already received a couple of donations um, that will help us produce the magazine, cover website costs, etc. And to as we move forward into the launch uh, over the next say month and a half, starting mid-December, we're going to be doing um, a brief fundraising campaign to get folks excited. Um, we're hoping people really feel invested in the project as much as we do, and uh, you know, see it as the fantastic outreach tool that it's meant to be and want to support that. So we'll come out with more details on the fundraising campaign soon. If you are, if any of you are interested in donating, you might want to wait until we start the fundraising campaign because there will be donor gifts, thank you gifts at various levels, kind of like NPR does.
Very, very cool. This is so exciting. Um, Thanks for fielding all these questions. I know we're going all over the place with this, and we got a few more. I know this is we're running up towards the hour, so we want to get this wrapped up pretty soon. There will be opportunities for people to ask questions in YouTube, and there, you'll be seeing more of this. I know there are a lot of people like, why aren't we hearing more about this? The reason, I think you can add to this if you want, is that we're just announcing this kind of tonight. This is one of the first times we're really talking about it in public, right? That's why people haven't seen more.
Well, that depends. Do you all read my column in the AP?
Uh-oh.
The evidence is, well, we'll see. Um, so it's not entirely new, but we're going to start pushing it a lot more as we get closer to the launch in February, and as we have more details to tease and share with you, and as we build our first issue as strongly as we can. So this may be the first you've heard about it. Um, again, if you don't read my column.
Yes, shame on you. This is a question we haven't covered yet, so this might be interesting. Is the content for this established as kind of a monthly issue in the same way, or will this be more daily, weekly, so that it's a little more dynamic? Do you have a sense of that?
So the magazine itself is quarterly. One of our plans is to supplement the magazine with additional articles, things that will come out, not daily. We're not, we're not superheroes or wizards or any other kind of beings like that. But maybe on a monthly basis, we'll bring you more information, more videos, things that are connected to the first issue, things that will sneak preview the next issue. So yeah, again, not daily, but there will be regular editions, because I don't think I've made this point yet. StampEd, yes, it's a magazine, but it's not just a magazine. Like the community aspect is really important to us. The the education aspect is really important to us. So we are going to continue to build the community between the months when the issue drops.
I'm seeing a fair amount of chatter that there are people that are donating to this as we speak, and we're really thankful for all that support. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
I was just wanting to do a quick shout out to a lot of people when we talked about California, one of the first folks who jumped in here, and then everyone else from their states said, "Hey, I'm also here." So I'm just going to name the states. San Jose, California, of course, is not a state, but hello, San Jose. Hello, Washington State. Hello, Ohio, our neighbor. Missouri, Connecticut, North Carolina. Someone is from Rye. I don't know if that was Rhode Island or Rye somewhere. Texas, New York, Florida, Rhode Island, and South Dakota. So it's a nice range. I'm sure there's some others, so feel free to jump in.
Well,
is there anything that we didn't cover that you would like?
I do want to follow up on that.
Okay.
And this is probably so obvious, but the fact that it's a digital magazine means that we are able to share this internationally. Obviously, the APS is an international organization. We have a lot of members who are not from the US or from Canada, but this is just another aspect where we really want it to be accessible everywhere. So
Fantastic.
thank you all I see regards from Peru. Thank you all so much.
This is great. Now, this I think might have qualified as one of those curveball questions that you wanted me not to ask, but I'm going to ask it anyway. And I already know your answer to this. Someone's asking, is this the beginning of the end of printed magazines from the AP? Yes.
No. No. I love my print magazine. Yeah, I won't ever, you can pry it out of my cold dead hands. I will never give up the print AP. So not the beginning of the end at all. It's just different. The beginning of the end.
Sorry, I muted myself also. Just looking down a list of questions. We've got a couple more. Do you already have, is there any kind of plan, and you may have mentioned this again before, will there be, I know initially we're going to do this in-house and the articles will come from staff and folks here. how can people get in the queue to contribute?
Well, not entirely, but we do have some outside contributors. I'm really excited. For example, John Hotchner is going to write a regular column uh, about aspects of organized philately and like how to, the pros of getting involved with some of the more traditional aspects that we really enjoy about organized philately, whether that's shows, um, local clubs. So, uh, and in addition to John, we have a lot of other authors who are going to be joining us for the first issue outside of staff. Um, uh, However, as I mentioned before, we we're looking for potential columnists. We're looking for potential one-off authors. If you want to get involved or you have an idea, you can give me a phone call. Um, I am, I may be a millennial, but I'll still answer my phone. Um, and you can also email me your idea, um, whether that's a proposal or a full article. You can email me your idea. And again, the email address is stamped@stamps.org.
Thank you for addressing that. This is a question I've not seen yet. Also, hello, Brazil, Peru, and New Hampshire. Also added. Speaking of Brazil and Peru, do we have any plans for this to be translated into, say, Spanish or any other language? Do we know how to do that in a digital magazine?
Um, Thank you for that suggestion. Um, and it's a really good question. So for the time being, the magazine is only going to be in English. Um, However, I love the idea. It's not within our capabilities on staff to do that, but you know, if people if people volunteer, and a lot of people do volunteer at the APS very selflessly, their time, we're able to do some amazing things. So the answer is not yet, but if we get people who are, interested in helping us with that, that's something we could consider, maybe even for individual articles. I like that idea. Thank you for asking.
This my daughter could just have sent this answer in here, and she would have if someone else had not beat her to it. The answer is Google will do it for us.
Thank you,
Thank you
Google.
for that. Also, hello, Annapolis, Maryland. There's a comment here that the Swiss Stamp Collectors Magazine, SBK, is being made available in English, French, German, Italian. I'm not sure how much it's automated, but it really makes the material accessible. So that's kind of reinforcing that idea. And as you were answering that question, certainly as we're trying to get non-traditional audiences involved, finding ways to engage audiences that are not first English speaking would be really useful. I'll work
Yeah.
on the Germans when I'm there next week.
You wouldn't want me to do it. My French skills are subpar, and that's putting it really nicely and generously.
We have a buonanotte, which is, I think, Italian for good night. Thank you.
I hope so.
That's Portuguese. All right, we're going to get a lot of this going now. We're running up towards 8. Are there any other final comments you want to make, Susanna, about this that we haven't covered? We've covered a lot of ground that we may end up doing this again. Anything else you want to wrap up with?
Um, I think that I hope I've made this point clear, but this project is something that we're really passionate about. Um, Not just because it's, new and different than the things that we've done before as the APS, but also because we're just going to be able to reach so many more people, get so many more perspectives, and be able to um, represent the very wide world of philately. Um, so I really appreciate all of your excitement. I appreciate everyone who's already reached out to me and, expressed their excitement, donated money. Thank you so much. Um, and, offered to write or offered their ideas. It's, um, again, I mentioned this before, but being able to build something from the ground up like this is it's just really exciting, and so we need all the feedback that we can get, and we need all of the support and excitement that we can get. So I appreciate you all very, very much.
Susanna, thank you so much for your time tonight and allowing us to just throw questions your way. Some other folks asked how other questions will be fielded when this is over tonight. We'll have a lot of channels for that, I'm quite sure. I think we're going to wrap it up now. I want to thank again Susanna. Everyone, give her a hand for your time. Thank you, Scott, for your help with moderation. You're handling a lot of background questions and comments. There's a lot of activity here tonight. Thank you all for participating. This has been a great session. I want to thank our sponsors for supporting this program. We're looking forward to getting next year scheduled. We should have that information up in one of our newsletters or upcoming communications within a week or two here. So we look forward to some interesting and exciting talks for Stamp Chat in season 2 in 2024, which is not really that far away. So thank you all again for your participation tonight. Thank you, Susanna, Scott,
Yes.
all of you. Thanks for joining us tonight, and have a great holiday. And we'll
Happy
see you in
holidays.
season 2. Okay, thanks very much. Good night.
Good night.